Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Hare Krishna. Good morning, devotees. My name is Manjari Gopika, Devi Dasi, and today we will be hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, verses 45 through 50, focusing on verse 45. And I ask for your blessings that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all of the devotees. Let us begin by altogether chanting the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayamudirayet nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Let's jump right in. So, as previously mentioned, today we'll be hearing from Canto 7, Chapter 9, verses 45 through 50. And then we'll circle back. We'll focus on verse 45. So if everybody wants to open their phones, we normally have the board. We don't have the board today, but yes, Tammy, you can start with verse 45. So where we left off is Lord Nrsimhadev has appeared, Hiranyakashipu has been killed, and these are the prayers that Prahlad Maharaj is offering to Lord Nrsimhadev. So you can go ahead, Tammy, with verse 45.
Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Gramidas, so-called grahastas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals.
O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path of liberation: to remain silent, not to speak to anybody, no anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Varnashram Dharma, to explain the Shastras, to stay in the solitary place, to chant the mantra silently, and to observe in trance. These different methods of liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood. For those who have not conquered their senses, because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful.
By authorized Vedic knowledge, one can see that the forms of cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the cosmic manifestation is His energy. Both cause and effect are nothing but energies of the Lord. Therefore, O my Lord, just as a wise man, by considering cause and effect, can see how fire pervades wood, those engaged in devotional service understand how you are both the cause and effect.
Text 48. O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross. The material elements and anything expressed either by the words or by the mind are nothing but you.
Text 49. Neither the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service.
Text 50. Therefore, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because without rendering 6 kinds of devotional service unto you, offering prayers, dedicating all the results of activities, worshiping you, working on your behalf, always remembering your lotus feet, and hearing about your glories, who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahamsas?
Very well, thank you. We'll return now to text 45, which is our focus verse. So we'll chant the Sanskrit and then proceed from there. Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. Kanduyanena karayori vaduka dukam. Tripyanti neha kripana bahuduka baja. Ganduti manishijam vishaheta dira. Please chant. Yanmai tunadi grihamedi suhu hitucham. Kanduyanena karayori vaduka dukam. Tripyanti neha kripana bahuduka baja. Kanduti manishijam vishaheta dira. Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. Kanduyanena karayori vaduka dukam. Tripyanti neha kripana bahuduka baja. Kanduti manishijam vishaheta dira. Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. Kanduyanena karayori vaduka dukam. Tripyanti neha kripana bahuduka baja. Kanduti manishijam vishaheta dira. Wonderful. Looks like everybody has phones, so why don't we do the synonyms together? It's very long because it's quite a wordy verse, so we'll do these together. Here we go. Yat, that which is meant for material sense gratification. Maithuna adi, represented by talking of sex, reading sexual literature, or enjoying sex life at home or outside, as in a club. Grihamedi Sukham, all types of material happiness based on attachment to family, society, friendship, etc. He, indeed, tucham, insignificant, kandu yanena, with the itching, karayo, of the two hands, to relieve the itching, Eva, like, dukkha dukkam, different types of unhappiness into which one is put after such itching sense gratification. Tripyanti, becomes satisfied. Na, never. Iha, immaterial sense gratification. Kripana, the foolish persons. Bahu dukkha bhaja, subjected to various types of material unhappiness. Khandutivat, if one can learn from such itching. Manasi jam, which is simply a mental concoction. Actually, there is no happiness. Vishaheta, and tolerates such itching. Dhira, he can become a most perfect sober person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedis, so-called grihastas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although it is actually a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the suffering of fools and rascals. Purport. Materialists think that sexual indulgence is the greatest happiness in the material world, and therefore they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. This is generally found everywhere, and specifically found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. Actually, however, this has not made anyone happy. Even the hippies, who have given up all the materialistic comforts of their fathers and grandfathers, cannot give up the sensational happiness of sex life. Such persons are described here as kripanas, misers. The human form of life is a great asset, for in this life one can fulfill the goal of existence. Unfortunately, however, because of a lack of education and culture, people are victimized by the false happiness of sex life. Prahlad Maharaj therefore advises one not to be misled by this civilization of sense gratification, and especially not by sex life. Rather, one should be sober, avoid sense gratification, and be Krishna conscious. The lusty person, who is compared to a foolish miser, never gets happiness by sense gratification. The influence of material nature is very difficult to surpass. But as stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. If one voluntarily submits to the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be saved very easily. In reference to the low-grade happiness of sex life, Yamunacharya says in this connection, Yada vadhi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde nava nava rasa damanudyata rantam ashit. Tada vadhi bata nari sangame smarayamane bhavati mukha vikara shustu nishtivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Yamunacharya had formerly been a great king who enjoyed sexual happiness in various ways, but since he later engaged himself in the service of the Lord, he enjoyed spiritual bliss and hated to think of sex life. If sexual thoughts came to him, he would spit with disgust. This verse is a very famous verse. It's often quoted within Prabhupada's purports and many of his lectures. But before I say anything further, I sincerely beg for your forgiveness, because this verse is far beyond my realization. I will do my best to present what I have heard from my spiritual master and from our disciplic succession on this topic. And I beg for the mercy of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji. The verse that precedes this one, verse 44, Nanda Braj Prabhu spoke on that verse yesterday, is one of my favorite verses. And so in that verse, just before this one, Prahlad Maharaj tells Lord Nrsimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. And he talks about how he is willing to stay in the material world to help all these fools and rascals, unlike some other saintly persons who just are focusing on themselves. So now in today's verse, he turns his attention to those fallen souls, to those fools and rascals, and explains the situation that they're in. He explains that they are bewildered by material pleasures and how they're really suffering. Material life at its core is nothing but an attempt to find happiness by contacting the senses with sense objects, arranging and rearranging different facilities to enjoy the senses again and again. But as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 2.62, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. But still, without knowledge of the absolute truth, which we can only get from pure devotees like Prahlad, the conditioned souls keep seeking pleasure in these ways of this contacting the senses with the sense objects, because they're unaware that there is a higher alternative. In today's verse, Prahlad Maharaj emphasizes the epitome of material life, which is sex life. Srila Prabhupada said material existence simply means sex attraction. He often would quote what Lord Rishabhadev says in the 5th canto, Pumsastriya Mituni Bhava Metam, where Lord Rishabhadev says that the attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence, because on the basis of this misconception, all these other ties form, right? One becomes attracted to the body, to the home, to property, to children, relatives, and wealth. And so in this way, it increases the illusions of I and mine. And these are invisible chains, but they are very real ones. And we can see practically advertisers rely on sex appeal even when the product has nothing to do with it. Shampoo, shoes, perfume, all directed in that way. And why? Because this desire is that powerful, and it is so deeply ingrained in conditioned souls. In modern society, illicit sex, meaning sex outside of a spiritual regulation, outside of a spiritual marriage, is considered not only normal, but necessary for happiness. But Prahlad Maharaj emphasizes, or he compares it to scratching an itch. My daughter's at the age where she's always running around, still playing hide and seek and hiding under things, and it's mosquito weather, and so she's getting these bites, and she's doing all the things that I used to do as a kid, which is I can still see and hear so clearly my parents saying to me, "Don't scratch it. If you scratch it, you'll make it worse." And I remember thinking to myself, "Make it worse? This is the only thing that makes it better." And so I would do it anyway. But Prahlad Maharaj is saying, the more you scratch, the worse it gets. And it's true. Once you start scratching that mosquito bite, oh my God, it feels so good. It's the pleasure that you have been seeking forever. But then as soon as you stop, it's like a fire burning. It's worse than it had been before you scratched it the first time. So then you scratch it some more. And it's the same thing. The desire to keep scratching increases until you make it bleed. So similarly, when we scratch these itches for material desire, particularly with lust, the more you scratch, the worse it gets. And trying to satisfy the itch only deepens the suffering. You can't find permanent happiness through it. It will always end in frustration. Yet people lose all intelligence chasing it. Later in the 7th canto, in chapter 13, verse 26, Prahlad Maharaj has a conversation with a very saintly renunciate he comes across living in the forest. And this saintly renunciate says to Prahlad Maharaj, "In this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex. But by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities." So this verse isn't a condemnation, it's a realization. After chasing pleasure, life after life, the wise finally pause and ask, is this actually working? Am I actually happy? And only then does the attachment become real. So this is precisely why the Acharyas and Krishna himself, they recommend regulation. Because when desires, including sex life, is restricted within dharmic boundaries, for example, marriage and the purpose of procreation, it no longer fuels the fire of material desire. We're not constantly scratching at the itch. So instead of chasing temporary highs, regulation helps us just gradually withdraw our senses, that itch lessens, and we turn toward higher happiness. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 5.22, Yehi samsparsha jaboga dukkayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person, just like that saintly person in the forest Prahlad Maharaj met, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so the wise man does not delight in them. And this is the spirit behind the 4 regulative principles that Srila Prabhupada gave us. They aren't, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. They're not punishments, they're protections. They free us from being relentlessly dragged around by the mind and senses. They create space. They create space in a consciousness for something higher, real spiritual taste. Without regulation, we may call ourselves free, but we're actually enslaved by our urges. I feel like I should clarify something because I often see this misinterpreted. You're not a bad person if you have desires. You're not a disgusting, worthless, hopeless person because you have desires. Desires are natural in conditioned life, in conditioned souls. But the goal is to learn how to tolerate and regulate them. Just as hunger isn't bad, but overeating, overindulging, it makes you sick. It has many side effects. So too, sex desire is meant to be engaged within a regulated framework. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7.11 says, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. So when it's properly situated within a marriage that's centered on spiritual growth, the Acharyas explain it can be purifying. But what's really important to know, that I've heard from the great teachers in our lineage, is that sex desire is more than just a physical urge. Our acharyas explain it's deeply philosophical. It reinforces the idea of I and mine. The desire to enjoy someone else's body is rooted in the idea that the body is ours, that it is meant for our enjoyment. But the scriptures state that everything belongs to Krishna. To the extent that we enjoy independently a part of his creation, we are expressing envy toward him, the supreme enjoyer. Therefore, our desire to enjoy becomes a subtle competition with Krishna. And this is why sex desire is considered the deepest root of material bondage. And those that wish to transcend this have a couple options. Like sannyasis, they renounce sex life altogether. Most of us are not ready for that. You can get there. So we regulate it. Grihastas regulate it. And also in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj is explaining the difference between grihametas and grihastas. Grihametis are people that are married, that own property, that have on paper a lot of things in common with grihastas, but they don't have spirituality. So they don't have an anchor in their lives. Grihastas regulate their desires, and they put Krishna at the center of their household. So when you do that, as our acharyas teach, it becomes part of the path of going back to Krishna. And the Vedic system is wonderful. It never denies human needs, but instead channels them. Just as we offer food to Krishna before eating, sex is regulated through marriage for elevation. Married couples are meant to help each other grow in Krishna consciousness, to worship together, serve together, raise Krishna conscious children. And to the degree they keep Krishna at the center, they grow spiritually. And to the degree they don't, they suffer. Today in society, many people reject marriage because they don't have a spiritual framework. They say, why bother? I can have all the benefits without commitment. I can have a sexual partner. I can have a child. I can buy property with this person. But this mindset deepens the ignorance and suffering that binds us to repeated birth and death. Human life is meant for tapasya. Human life is our chance to regulate, to purify. And we can't expect to give it up all at once, but we can begin walking the path of regulation that our acharyas recommend. Our goal is Krishna Prem. Our goal is to love Krishna selflessly, to recognize that he is the supreme enjoyer and I am the one to be enjoyed. And there is no way to achieve that goal without purifying our hearts and controlling our senses. I was in a class with my spiritual master the other day, and he very frankly said, there is no way to be happy without controlling your senses. I was like, I don't think we need the rest of the class. I think that sentence is a class in itself. So spiritual life begins when we stop being servants of the senses. Instead of reacting to every urge, we learn to tolerate. And in Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Krishna assures us, he says, although the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains, but by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Real happiness doesn't come from scratching the itch, it comes from awakening love for Krishna. When we develop attachment to the holy name, to hearing and chanting, the pull of material desire weakens. And I heard Chandramauli Swami Maharaj say, and the more you tolerate, the easier it gets to tolerate. But really, by deepening your attraction to Krishna, your attachment to the holy name, something mystical happens. As Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Tunde tandavani ritim vitanute, tundavali labtaye, karna kroda kadambani gatayate, kanarbude bhyaspriham, cheta prangana sangani vijayate, sarvendriyanam kritim, no jani jani thakyat biramitai, krishne titvarna swai. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and all senses become inert. So our acharyas assure us, as we continue to practice devotional service, as we continue to really try to chant without offenses, the attraction to Krishna grows and the attraction to material pleasure fades. We don't need to fight our desires forever, but we simply need to keep practicing like Krishna says. Just keep practicing until a higher taste makes those desires irrelevant rather. That's what I have prepared. Thank you so much for tolerating me. As I stated at the beginning of class, I have no personal realization. I have no authority to speak on this, but so I beg your forgiveness, but I have done my best to repeat what I have heard. If anybody now has any thoughts or comments or questions, elaborations, please grab the mic.
Hare Krishna. It was a wonderful class. Thank you for repeating the words in the parampara. I was thinking as you're speaking on this a lofty subject which is way, way beyond my realizations. but I was thinking about how George Harrison said, everyone is searching after Krishna. Everyone is looking for Krishna. So the topmost searching, most intense activity that I was thinking about was the sexual activity, where everybody is actually searching for Krishna through that activity. But as is said in Bhagavad Gita in 15th chapter, this material world is a reflection, perverted reflection of the spiritual world. What exists in the spiritual world? Exactly opposite we find here in this world. So in the spiritual world, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Here, I think I am the enjoyer. Exactly opposite to that. And as it is stated in the scriptures and the acharyas, they have said, lust is the perverted reflection of original Adi Ras. Adi Rasa. Adi Rasa is the pure love for Krishna. Everyone wants to love Krishna in the spiritual world. But here, when it comes down, it becomes perverted, and we think we are the enjoyer, and we are trying to be the enjoyer through this activity, thinking that I am the enjoyer. And I was just trying to correlate that. So how do we reverse that? I remember Sachinandan Swami, there are different planes on which this thing can be handled. Of course, the switch ultimately lies in Krishna's hand. Unless he presses, all these desires won't go away to enjoy separately from Krishna. But he said, in correlation with the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayate Vishayan Punsa, how, by contemplating on the sense objects, then the next step happens, and then next. So the verse goes on. So he said there are 3 gates. First, when a thought comes of the sense object, right then and there, one will have to curb, and that is the gate where there is a high possibility of not passing through the second gate. But when thinking, that is the first gate, he said. So when we start thinking, contemplating, that contemplation leads to the attachment. So feeling, and then that feeling is the second gate. Once we start feeling in the mind, which is forgiven in this day and age, so which is a major discount given. But at that stage, it's very difficult to pull back, he said. So once we start feeling for that sense object, then at some point of time, it has to pass through the last gate, which is willing. And then one has to get into the action. So that's what I was thinking. This is on the material plane, of course, but on the spiritual plane, when we engage all of our senses in Krishna's service, then those senses, because Rishikesha, he is the master of the senses, then they get subdued. I do not have any realization, but
oh no. Take this.
So that we can.
Here, take my mic. I don't know where the batteries are. Oh, okay. He says to pray for the mercy of the Lord and our acharyas. And Tulsi Saki Devi is going to get us some more batteries for that microphone. Thank you. But in the meantime, someone can use this one. Who's next? Well, I'll say thank you, Gokulanand Prabhu. I always feel so relieved when he's sitting back there on the couch. And I know he can offer much further insight. No. We need more class. More class. No, please. Is it on? There it is.
You're done?
Krishna said, stop.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I only have like one question that probably is the hardest, but
Yeah.
I mean, not because I am saying it, because I think it is so hard to define. But it's, I just wanted to see what's your concept or your opinion about love.
Love.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my opinion doesn't really count for much because I'm just a conditioned soul, but I can tell you what our acharyas say, and that is they're very clear that we don't actually know what love is, that what we experience in this world is a combination of affection and lust, and that the only pure love you'll ever experience is your relationship with God, who we know is Krishna. But we are designed for love. We are designed to serve, and in that way to find out what love actually is. With Krishna, he's the supreme enjoyer. And the closest thing, they say, to actual love in this material world is the love that a mother has for a child. They specifically say mother, but I'm going to say parent, because I have seen some excellent fathers as well, right? Especially, I know, we're all thinking my husband and also my father. But the love that a parent has for a child, in that they put their own needs last. They're constantly thinking, they're like meditating on the child about their needs and how they could possibly be feeling and what they could do to help them improve, and also, you know, going without sleep, and just that intensity of, but it's a love out of service, isn't it? It's an intensity of service. I guess that's really what we need to know about love. Genuinely, usually when people have some attachment, some sort of ego comes from it. Like it, you know, in a relationship, it sort of changes your identity or how you see yourself. But and some people just get attached to that, of who they are now as the husband of someone or the wife of someone. But we all have the same identity in that we're servants of Krishna. And the closer we get to that, then the happier we will be. And we can see in our movement, the purest souls are the ones who are the most connected to serving Krishna and the devotees, and they have the most love to give to everyone, because they actually have realized what love is. That's my ramblings. Prabhu. What is love?
Your answer was spot on, but I would like to add here, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 8 verses. All the teachings of the entire existence or creation is summarized within those 8 verses. And that is depicted by the personal lives of gopis. So the last couple of lines goes, Ye yatha mam, what is that? Yatha tata va vidadatu lampato mat prananath. So even if you embrace me, either you embrace me or push me away or kick me away, still you remember the Lord of my hearts. So that is the bottom line here. And gopis, they exhibited that principle throughout their lives. Here, the principle of love, or the understanding, interpretation, rather the misinterpretation of love is, you scratch my back, I will scratch yours. Mm-hmm. As soon as you stop scratching my back, you know, I will also stop. Yeah. So I want something in return. And when I don't get that in return as per my expectation, then there is frustration and there is anger, because it is predominantly deep-rooted in the mode of passion. And when lust is not fulfilled, it results into anger. When it is fulfilled, it results into greed. That's the main principle here. But in spiritual world, it is never like that, because it is centered around Krishna. Nobody wants anything return. But there is this transcendental competition between them. Mm-hmm. And what is it? Devotees want to please Krishna, and Krishna wants to give more pleasure to the devotees. And then it goes back and forth between them. That is the difference. But here, in my understanding, this is what I have understood. Love means basically, as she explained, it's a service and sacrifice. You keep serving and keep sacrificing.
Thank you for that really interesting question. And thank you for your answer, Prabhu.
if I may add, I really love like this topic because I think we could go on forever, and it's always like in a very kind, approach. If you believe in love, right? I think that the transformative power of love is just incredible. That I can attest. Even though I could never be able to describe it, and then we try to, to go deep and deep, and then in a human level, we always say that there are different levels of love, right? But that's just that those are just words,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any thoughts, questions, comments? Dulcie Saki, come on. She wants to.
Hi Krishna, thank you for a very nice class. As everybody is saying, topics beyond our realization. I really like the points you mentioned, where the ones where that there's no way to be happy other than by controlling our senses. Something to take home. And even from yesterday's class, there was a similar point. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must fully be convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy.
Right. I heard that in the purport. I love that verse so much. Thank you for bringing that up.
So it's very humbling to deal with our senses on a day-to-day basis, and come and sharpen our tools again in the morning in the Bhagavatam class, that okay, this is the goal, this is the purpose, no realization, no control of senses, but let's start over every day, all over again, and let's try.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you. And you reminded me of this. Another thing my spiritual master says, I hear him say it all the time. Like I listen to his classes and it comes up so often. I've even heard him say it in person so often. It's just one of his things that he always says. But he often says this. He often says, Prahlad Maharaj tells us in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that the only way to be happy in this world is to stop trying to be happy in this world. And the way that we try to be happy in this world is what? Sense gratification. Mukhananda Prabhu, do you have anything?
I would like to share this. I heard this, I don't remember exactly from where I heard. I think I heard it from Gauranga Prabhu. To say, because he told me you're predominantly in the mode of passion. So, yeah, lust comes from mode of passion. I am very passionate. So, he said, of course, the switch lies with Krishna. So until then, we will have to just keep battling with it. But there are few tips. Like one of the tips I just remembered, I would like to share here. He said, keep banging mridanga. Okay, because you're passionate and you're passionate about mridanga. Whenever there is mode of passion coming, like a wave, take the mridanga, keep beating up, but chant Hare Krishna at the same time. So mridanga is one of the best ways to release that passion. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, nobody in the sample room believes that you're in the mode of passion. I mean, not nobody, the person up here does. But I was going to ask you if there is anything, that you heard in the Brahmachari ashram, like were there certain techniques that were taught with controlling the senses and recognizing urges and things like that?
No mechanical techniques work when it comes down to lust. As I said, right, this is what we have heard, all of us. This ultimate switch lies with Krishna. We have to be like that small baby in front of the mother. All that the baby has to do is just raise the arms and cry out. That's it. And everything is taken care by baby's mother, right? Be it with regards to food, clothing, shelter, protection, everything is provided by the baby's mother. Similarly, this is all we need to do. That's it. We have to just, Prabhupada said, if somebody is feeding the ducks, one which quacks the most gets the mercy first.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to keep quacking louder and louder through chanting, through our kirtans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, doesn't matter whether or not we are skillful, but we have to just keep crying out. That's it. One more point I just heard a couple days back through Radhan Maharaj's lecture was, there is one way of chanting which is, we are caught up sometimes, like I can talk about myself, into the skills and this and that. That is also good. It's better than not chanting and better than, singing mundane songs and everything. That also helps because it's really purifying. But the best way of chanting or doing kirtan or japa is actually feeling the separation.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing in this world?
Mm-hmm.
Having forgotten. In that mood of separation, cry out
Mm-hmm.
for the holy name. So that is the best type of chanting. It just struck me. Just a couple days back I was listening.
Any closing thoughts? Thank you so much, all of you, for your realizations, for tolerating me, your kind attention. And I just want to say, I was thinking about your question about love and how you were talking about the transformative power of love. And I was just thinking, it's the love of my spiritual master that has been the most transforming love in my life. And so everybody, please take the time to get attached to the pure devotees. They are sent here, as Prahlad Maharaj says, he was wanted to stay and help the conditioned souls who were not feeling the pure love for Krishna. And that's what we have here in our movement. We have so many pure souls who came expressly to help us find that love. Please take advantage of their association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki